Hey everyone, welcome to Approaching the Pros College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Woodruff. Again, this is just a college football podcast that is looking at the college players I believe need to be aware of as they go down the path that they're currently on, as they look to chase those dreams and they're trying to approach the pros. Again, my name is Andrew Woodruff. My everyday job outside of this is just to be a defensive football coach at my high school, along with being a math teacher. I've been around fantasy football for the past 10 years and what we call Devy football for the past 5 years. And Devy football, keep it simple. It's just in dynasty drafts, instead of drafting the rookies, we go ahead and we draft and stake our claim to the college players that we believe one day will make it to the NFL and be relevant. And the more I've been around Devy football and around college football in general, the more fun and focus I've just been wanting to put into it. So, again, this podcast is just part of the Filmalytics group, which looks at film and analytics to help see the full picture of fantasy football, to help us know what these players truly are. Being a math teacher and a high school football coach, film and analytics is two things that I love to carry over anyway into everything I do in this process. And so I'm going to continue to use that skill set to bring you to this podcast called Approaching the Pros. With that, I figured for this first episode, I really just want to talk about a position that doesn't get a lot of love because it's so hard to predict what players need to get to the NFL and be successful. And that position, of course, is tight ends. You may have thought quarterbacks, but of course, it feels like tight ends are even more difficult. The good thing is, we've noticed the NFL is starting to trend in a direction that where we can track what tight ends possibly have the skill set needed to be relevant. We're looking for these big bodied players, so 6'4", 240 plus pounds, kind of kids, grown men basically that are super athletic with the ball in their hands, especially for tight ends. The more athletic you are, the likelier that you're going to get a shot to be relevant. And so, speaking with that, the first episode, I wanted to talk about a tight end from Utah that I think does not get enough love. Now, no, that's not Brant Keithy. That's not the former first rounder, Dalton Kincaid, who's now a rookie in the NFL. I'm talking about the guy I believe is the next man up, and that is Thomas Yassmin. So, Yassmin is a former Australian rugby player that is now on the verge of possibly becoming a major NFL draft prospect, depending on how this year goes for him. Now, yes, he is a 6-year player, but I want to make sure you heard that correctly. He is an Australian rugby player. So, Yassmin played rugby his entire life, had some offers to teams after he got convinced to do a tryout at Hawaii. Utah, of course, being one of those offers, the one that he eventually took. And because of his athleticism, Utah decided to play him at tight end. Keeping real quick to that Hawaii workout, apparently at his size at the time of 6'5", 248 pounds, the kid ran a 4.49. That's the same size he is right now. He is 6'5", 248 pounds, and ran a 4.49. Like, that is really fast for the position. It proves he is an athlete. And again, that's the same way he is now because the first several years at Utah, he's never played football in his life, so he had to sit there and learn behind the scenes and was working on reshaping his body to be suited for the position. So he did lose some weight at first and learn how to build back that muscle. So during his time, again, he's developed behind Keithy and the first rounder, Dalton Kincaid, which both of those guys obviously were much further ahead in their development and playing time until this last season in 2022 when Keithy went down with an ACL injury. Because of that, Yassmin had the chance as a developing athlete to see the field for the first time. And he showed out for it. So much to the fact that his team likes to refer to him as the Yak Man for his ability. So in 2022, he used that athleticism to turn 13 receptions on 21 targets into a whopping 301 receiving yards. That's a lot. He also had a nose for the end zone, finding it 6 times on those 13 catches. Yassmin was often targeted almost 11 yards downfield, was able to at least on average get over 10 more yards after the catch. Again, yards after the catch, that is what we call yak, hence the name Yak Man. the dude has truly earned it. And like so much to the fact that 64.8% of his yards created after the catch with his ball in his hands. The dude is an athlete once you can get the ball to him. And while I was looking that up, came across this cool fact about his big playability. Nate Marquise noted that Yassmin and Bowers, yes, the Brock Bowers, were the only two tight ends in college last year with multiple 60-yard receptions. So, obviously, again, you may have heard 21 targets, 13 catches, and that's fair. It's a very small target share and limited sample. His efficiency, though, was very, very high, and so it's something we will get to see addressed in 2023. Now, the path, we have to talk about the path he is on. Utah is one of the most heavy two tight end systems across all of college. The coaches have also mentioned how they are very limited at the receiver depth, and so they will most likely stick to their two tight end sets as much as possible. So, thankfully, we don't have to worry about a shifting scheme. They do have the offensive lineman in front of them and the running back depth as well. So they will continue to stick to the path that they're on of being a ground and pound system that features their tight ends who happen to be the best athletes. So, regardless of whichever quarterback ends up playing and anything they do, they'll also have that play action and scheme set where Yassmin can be the number one or the number two guy. And again, that's good because the team has a tendency to give multiple players at the position a chance to be impactful because of this. Yassmin has been developing now for 5 years, going into his 6th year now this fall. He'll be continuing to develop in all phases of his game. Again, according to the spring, it's been fantastic reports. Plus, he has experience lining up not only in a traditional tight end position on the line of scrimmage, but he's also been split out wide in the slot to utilize that skill set that he has. Now, again, no shade to Brant Keithy. I think he's amazing. He holds a lot of talent and production, proven production at Utah, but he's more what we call a tweener for his size, 6'2", 220 pounds. That's normally not somebody we want for fantasy football at the tight end position. So Yassmin is more of that ultra talented traditional tight end size that we're looking for. Plus, again, I haven't heard any reports, but Keithy did tear his ACL last year in September. And so sometimes with the season starting August 31st, it takes a little bit more than a year for him to get back to where he was. So he could be playing full snaps. That's fine. Yassmin can be the number two guy. It works perfectly. His NFL future can still be extremely high, in my opinion. If Keithy is not playing, Yassmin has a prime opportunity, just like Kincaid last year, to prove he is the guy. So, again, based on how Yassmin uses skill set to create the extra yardage, he's also very talented as well at avoiding the tackles. He's currently sitting as my tight end 5 for the 2024 class at the position. Now, I did go ahead and take the time to snip and put together a video showing all the catches I could find for his 2022 season. I want you to, if you're paying attention to this video, I want you to notice just how much he can do with the ball in his hands and realize this kid is still just at the tip of the iceberg on learning the position and the upside that he could possess. If you're listening to this, I'll try and explain it a little bit, but I really do encourage you to take the time and watch this video. I think it's well worth your time. So let's go ahead and swap it over. First play against Arizona State, deep cross route, Rising's rolling out, throws it to him. Yassmin's able to turn this into a 40-plus yard gain downfield. Again, breaking tackles, creating extra yardage. The next play, little dump off past the outside. He's got 20-plus yards on the play before his offensive lineman and him run into each other, and they end up creating a fumble. Dude was most likely going to get a lot more yardage. Very next play, one of my favorites, it's a short rollout to the side for Colorado, and he catches this, immediately works his way up the sideline, and Colorado, not the best defense, I get it, but this guy tries to go low on Yassmin, and he sees this opportunity, treats it just like he would, just any other ultra athlete, he jumps him. And I mean, at 6'5", 248 pounds or so, clears him very easy, continues to outrun a safety who is in a position to immediately come tackle him and able to get a touchdown out of it. If you haven't seen the big USC play where he gets 60+ yards on a catch on the sideline and again breaks more tackles to reach the end zone, fantastic. You also see him later in this same video talking about, or not talking about, making a catch across the middle, kind of like Gronkowski did for the Patriots. Again, next play, so check down underneath. He's super quick, 15-yard touchdown or so. He's also was able to score against Arizona just on a hitch route on the inside and work his way upfield. Again, noticing where the defender was and getting to that spot where he needs to be. Now, I was surprised he didn't really have a lot of production for Penn State, but the one catch he did have was this goal line play where he just leaks out the side and is able to get up and go get the ball in the back corner of the end zone. Again, Rosen just kind of put it in an easy spot. He already beat the defender, so he didn't have to make a spectacular play. But it showed that Yassmin is probably going to be heavily involved again this upcoming season. So with that, I appreciate you taking time to either watch this video or even listen to this podcast. If you did, I recommend you come out and check out the video. I'll put it up on Twitter again if you want to find me. There will be a Approaching the Pros Twitter as well as my own personal Twitter, Andrew Woodruff @_Devy Scout. I would appreciate you checking out both, follow both. I'll continue to put out content with them. And please check out @_Filmalytics. Great group if you want to get that film and analytics put together. We also have a free Discord. I'll be linking that if you're listening to the podcast in the part below or in the comments below the video. With that, have a great day. Looking forward to some college football.